waryaa dilayoo dagaalay waryaa dulkulul ku jeexay ninkii dilayoo dagaalay ninkii dulkulul ku jeexay dagaal baa naga dhexeeya
I have a deep fear of losing control and not feeling competent. The cognitive insecurity means I'm gonna grow. I wish I knew. It means I'm gonna grow, right? Why can't I speak? Right?
Have you ever allowed your insecurities to drown you? I had to strengthen my iman more than I ever have before because I was going to allow self-doubt to eat me up. Where there is change, most likely there is uncertainty, and I had to soon realize that there will be steps to reach my goals, and that there will be things that I must learn, and not everything will come easily, but I will learn. Inshallah, I will learn. There was no doubt in my mind. I knew the transition would be difficult. Mountains towered with confusion, oceans filled with emotions. I always knew it would be difficult. I had to place vulnerability and humility on the forefront. This was a crucial moment for me to place my ego and my pride to the side. I had to lean on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more than I ever have before. This was by far the most challenging thing I've ever endured. I always knew it would be difficult. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised us that with hardship comes ease, and I knew I would grow differently from it. Life is such an intricate experience, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created it so perfectly and has lended us, all of us, the free will of choice, which is so beautiful. And every single opportunity withholds two options, the more easier option or the difficult one. And I think that I'm in a portion in my life right now where I am opting to choose the more difficult option. I'm in a space where I'm trying to halt myself from turning my head to be able to theoretically think about what I could have done different in the past. It's a little bit unnerving to sit in a space between what you know and what you do not know, and majority of it that you're sitting in is what you do not know. But there's a beauty in sitting in the faith. There's a beauty in trusting in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a beauty in being uncomfortable. I think that if we were always supposed to be content and happy, a life with a whole bunch of ease, there would be no point of this dunya. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've gotten this far, I am eternally grateful for the people who were patient with me with releasing this new video. I'm very grateful for the amount of kind words I've been receiving throughout my bit of a pause. I was having some artistic complications. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I was trying to get the video to look good to my liking, and so it'll be good for you guys. Just so you guys know, I put a lot of intention in every single video, so I'm not just throwing things together. If I do not like the video and I don't feel like it's fruitful, then I will not put it out. So alhamdulillah, I'm very grateful for everyone who was very patient with me throughout that process, and inshallah I will continue to put out work that I feel like is really good and inspiring, creative, informative, if may be. And just, inshallah, Allah may guide me to be able to have all those abilities, inshallah. So I've been wanting to create this video since I released the first one, because I feel like everything in life is very nuanced, alhamdulillah. And I think that the first video was me unpacking and kind of showcasing all the beautiful aspects of my journey and experience and everything that I have taken on with me that has filled my life up with abundance of beauty, and I've just been eternally grateful. But I would be lying if I said that I did not struggle, that I did not have hardships, that things took a little bit more learning than it would have if I didn't, take this leap. And like how I said a little bit previously, everything is nuanced. So I definitely had to do some stumbling. There was a lot of things I did not understand. So this video would be me just tapping on everything that I struggled with, everything that I had fear for, and just, unpacking the ways that I had a very human experience. This first one, you guys may think I'm a little bit insane for jumping in to this new part of the world without having this aspect. I moved to Somalia barely knowing Somali. Now hear me out. Hear me out. I'm just going to be transparent. My understanding, my speaking, my reading, my writing were all very basic. I knew enough to get by, but I think that a sane person may have looked at me and said, well, if you're going in and you don't really know any Somali. Yeah, but alhamdulillah, I have been learning. And my speaking is getting better. My reading and writing, alhamdulillah, is getting better. But going in, wallah, this was the most difficult thing I had to endure, because communicating for me is my biggest source of connecting with people. I love to communicate. I could have a hangout with someone when I'm only simply just communicating. We're not doing anything extravagant, and I would have a grand time. Like, that is how I connect with others. And so for that to be something that was essentially removed from my abilities to tap into, I had to learn different ways of communicating, and I had to be able to be super vulnerable, so vulnerable. And I have a big insecurity of not understanding the full scopes of situations. I have a big insecurity of not, I hate to say it, my ego is killing me when I'm going to say this right now, but I hate to not feel like I'm at least one of the best in the room. And I think that is a very prideful insecurity. I just had a really difficult time being able to express very complex ideas and emotions to people in the ways that I was so accustomed to in my native language, which is English. And so I had to really push myself to learn in a completely different way. I had to understand communication that was nonverbal. I had to really be intuitive and be aware of facial expressions, little shifts in body language. That was crucial for me. I had to be very, very hyper aware of body language, of facial expressions, of tones and voice, to be able to utilize my context clues to understand what was going on. So that was just very difficult, and it made me very insecure. It made me feel a little bit internally isolated, simply because I wasn't able to communicate in the way I liked. However, I was completely surrounded by family. I was never alone, and I was always surrounded by so much love. So I never felt alone in that way. But not being able to understand and communicate the language in the ways that I would like, and I'm such a perfectionist, and so it was definitely a humbling steps into learning. And I think that I've never felt that raw and bare with something I don't know. I think when I was a student growing up, I was always pretty quick with it, and I learned things fairly fast, and I just never had to struggle in that way when it came to communicating simple things. So that made me feel in a way kind of small, and but it also fired me up, because if you are so low in something, the only way to go is up, and the only way to, like, there's just so much room for improvement. So there was a lot of moments in the scenarios where I felt very vulnerable and very incompetent. I just have to remind myself that, like, you are at ground zero, but there's so much room to just move to any other parts and learn so much more. So that was very affirming, alhamdulillah. And I had a lot of family around me, and I also had family members, may I add, that did speak broken English. And as I continued on my journey, my Somali got better and their English got better, so communication got easier. But in the beginning stages, it definitely was something that was so hard, and I even got emotional about it at times. But again, this was just the human experience, and it was just something that I had to really push myself to get better. This was the first time I took myself out of my comfort zone and really tried to learn something new. So as you guys know, Somalia is keen with understanding the deen. There's so many very small children that memorized the entire Quran front and back, and alhamdulillah, it's so beautiful. And I went to a lot of Duqsi classes and a lot of Quran classes, and the kids were killing me out the water. They knew so much at such a young age. And again, similar to the language and not knowing Somali very well, there was moments that made me insecure, and I felt like I should have known more, and I felt like I should have been better. But I had an excellent teacher. He was firm but very kind and consistent. And alhamdulillah, I'm very glad. I've learned so much. And I'm very grateful. But in moments that did make me feel so so down about myself, and I had to pray and just pray and ask for guidance and ask for patience with myself to be able to learn more, and also to just reminding myself of the hadith that goes, if you're struggling, I'm not saying this verbatim, but if you're struggling with, being able to read the Quran, you're double rewarded. Because my Arabic was not that good either. My best source of memorization was just through auditorial listening and things like that. So I had to really break down and really learn how to read Arabic very well. And all of these things that I'm stating were difficult challenges, but these are also the things that I came for. These were the lessons and the types of abilities that I wanted to acquire so badly. And I knew going to a country like Somalia would do it, simply because I had family around me. Somalia is a Muslim country, 99.9, if I'm not mistaken, percent Muslim. The backbone, so people say, I think that's like a nickname people give Somalia, they're like the backbone of Islam, like country-wise, but that's just all of them, just making jokes. But I feel like those who know, we know. But yeah, that was definitely it was an insecure portion, because I had to be very humble and learn from people that were 5 and 6 and 7 and so much younger than me. And I feel like the beginning stage, maybe the first few months, it was uncomfortable. But less about me being humble in that manner, but more so just me not knowing and me beating myself up about not knowing. Like, that is such a huge thing for me. Like, I think it's definitely unrealistic to try to always be the best in the room, because if you're consistently the best in the room, babe, you need to go to a new room. And now me moving was a portion of me going into a new room. Another portion that was just very difficult with adapting to the change was missing my family. I miss my family. Less about being homesick, because honestly, there wasn't really many factors about America that I miss entirely. Like, everything that I've done in America was things that I could do, in Somalia. Like, I go to coffee shops, go to libraries, go to bookstores if I wanted to, go to shopping in the mall if I, wanted to go out to eat. Like, I'm a person that does too much. So, I find joy with the small things. So I did not have a hassle with that at all. So that was very easy. I made it really easy for myself. So I schedule calls to call every single family member throughout the week. And it just got easier to have. And also too, again, I was surrounded by so much family and so much love. So I never felt lonely. But you just have those little moments where you miss people. You can't see them and physically hug them and things like that. So there was definitely moments that I was really, really homesick in the ways of missing my family back in America. Issue that I had was money. And it was more so with me, because I jumped into this experience not really fully equipped. It was it was something I always dreamed of doing. And so the moment that I wanted to buy the ticket and just jump in and do it, I was hesitating because it's a funny story. So I actually was initially only supposed to stay for a few months, but then I just changed my mind and bought a one-way ticket. And I am taking some gap years from school. I'm 22 years old now, so I'm not 100%. I'm not super rich. I think a lot of people in the comments was thinking that I was abundantly rich and I was able to just do these things in the spur of the moment. But I was actually saving up to leave, but I was saving up for other things as well. But I just took up all of my savings and just left. And so I had to be very, very, very strategic on the money that I had, and I had to depend on the family that I had there. And it was that moments like that made me a little stressed, because it was more so a downfall on my end of just not being fully equipped. And I always knew that this situation would be a temporary move on the front end, because I know that I needed more resources, and I just wanted to dip my toe in just to kind of have a bit of experience and know my family there before I made a a final move. So I always knew it was gonna be temporary, and alhamdulillah, Allah has made this so easy for me and very, very graceful when it came to finances. However, I would be lying if I said that it wasn't a bit of stressors here and there about like depending on people and like having to strategically place my money in a way that was going to be sustainable for me. And again, I don't do too much, so everything ended up being fine. But that was a stressor for me, and especially because I changed my plans right when buying it. And so, but alhamdulillah, I think everything is going exactly how it should, and I think that this has challenged me and taught me a lot. And I think as I look at it, and people may think I'm a little insane, but I wouldn't change a thing. Alhamdulillah, I'm very grateful. I feel very filled with abundance to have a lot of family and a lot of people that can take care of me. And like, I've never went without food. Everything I possibly could have needed or wanted, it was at my fingertips. And so I never had to stress about that. But it was a sense of me being down on myself. A lot of these struggles I had was just a lot of internal conflict I was having, just with not feeling well equipped, not really knowing things, being incompetent, being vulnerable, not having friends, and having to figure these things out. But my family, wallah, is so big, and so I always had a support system. So alhamdulillah, I'm very glad, and I'm very happy that Somalia was my first country to leave and experience this. And I cannot wait until I have all the resources so I can live somewhere more permanently. But these were definitely some struggles, for sure. Another struggle that I had during my experience was just the cultural differences and not really being fully aware of all the differences. But prior to leaving, the Somali experience that I had was definitely a more Americanized Somali experience because all of my family lives in Somalia, not in America. So I never really got fully endoused into it. So there was moments that I didn't know certain things, and there was a lot of moments where I got a little laughed at. It was like, I would ask questions like, "Oh, what's this?" Or we'll be eating a certain food, and I'll eat it funny, or things like that. And also too, oh my gosh, y'all, I was trying to make Angela, and like I kept on like, trying to get it smoothly. And I think I'm gonna put a video, y'all. I was doing terrible, but I've learned a lot, and I'm so grateful. And these are things that I wanted, though. So I knew it wasn't going to be an easy road, and I knew it was going to be something that was going to be complicated, and I was going to have hurdles, and I have to jump through them. So alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful that this was something that I had to struggle with. Like, in the Quran it says with hardship comes ease, and it does not say like after hardship comes ease. It says with hardship comes ease. So like throughout the hardship, it does get easier. It gets easier while you're going through it. And so I'm not perfect in any of the things that I've stated. Like I am still learning how to read Arabic. I'm still learning how to speak and read Somali. I'm still understanding cultural differences. I'm still like, figuring out just all of the things, still missing, still like, having those moments of, feeling isolated and feeling incompetent. Like those are such vulnerable feelings, and I had to just be real with myself and allow myself to be human and experiencing those things without trying to like fight against it. And some people may even add that like, oh my gosh, you jumping and just moving to a whole new country, that on its own is very brave, and that takes a lot of vulnerability on its own. And it's actually very funny because me jumping into newness isn't something that's foreign to me. That's something I'm very, very well equipped to change in things like shifting. So that's not something that takes me out of my comfort zone. What takes me out of my comfort zone is me being 100% honest with myself and telling myself, this is where you are right now. You're at level 1, level 2, level 3, and like having someone witness my vulnerability. So all the teachers that I had, those are the moments that I squirmed up the most, or like being in the conversations with my family members and everyone's laughing and I have to admit that I'm confused and I have to admit that I don't get the joke. Things like that make me uncomfortable, and things like that makes me feel more bare and vulnerable. Less about the newness. Like the newness is something that actually fires me up. It like lights up my creativity, lights up my will to learn. But feeling incompetent, like y'all don't understand. Like that is deep. epiphany for me of like feeling insecure and vulnerable, and like that is my sense of struggle, is like not really knowing but really wanting to know, like with like wanting to know Arabic and knowing how to just read the Quran a little bit more like quickly. Like I read so slow, and so that's something that makes me feel I just want to know so bad. So when I want something very bad but I'm not good at, that frustrates me. It frustrates me so much. So that was like a huge struggle for me. But alhamdulillah, I'm so grateful though. I'm still so grateful. So this portion of the video, I'm going to be answering some of you guys' questions that you guys had, and just offering a bit of understanding on you guys' part for some things that may be confusing. The permanent or temporary move. This was a temporary move. Inshallah, if I have the resources, I would love to move to a Muslim country more permanently when I want to raise kids, raise families. Inshallah, if Allah wills it, I'll be excited for it. Another question you guys had was whether I moved to be married, or whether that was something in the books for me. No, I simply moved for familiar reasons, for Islamic reasons, and for cultural and linguistic reasons. What I possibly struggled with and learned, we discussed that all throughout this portion, so I hope that answered your question on some of the things that were difficult for me. Another question was something that I missed about America. I will say one thing that I do miss, and it's less about Somalia, but more just about my personal experience. I'm not really able to walk around freely simply because my language sucks. And so my IA would literally never let me leave by myself, because honestly, I wouldn't let myself leave by myself. My Somali was not that good to be able to travel on my own. So I always left with my hadriger, or like I would leave with my abdi, and I would have family with me every time I go somewhere, simply just out of like ease for me and protection for me. So I will say that is something that I miss, is just having the ability to just go to the mall by myself or something like that. But inshallah, once my Somali gets better, that would be something I could do more freely and more frequently. But on my own too, I just don't feel comfortable enough doing that, because what if I get lost? What if I get lost and I don't know how to get back and something like that? So that is something I miss, just the opportunity of me personally being a little bit more independent. But that isn't something that is restricted for women in Somalia. Like, women can go to the grocery store, go to shops on their own. Like, that's not something that is like restricted upon them. But for me, in my experience and journey, that was something that I needed some people to be with me. But that is something I miss, is just the idea of just like independence and having that be something I could do on my own. So someone else also asked, since I said this is a temporary move and I'm looking for somewhere permanent, what are some countries that I am looking at? That's a hard question because I don't know. Somalia is one of them. I'm looking at some places in the UAE. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know 100%. I do want to go somewhere that is, predominantly Muslim, somewhere where it doesn't feel too, I wouldn't feel too ostracized. So I don't know yet. That would be something I'll circle back on. I'm not 100% sure. I don't have a solid answer about that. Whatever Allah wills, this is where I will be at. Another question was, what are some like differences that you notice that are in, the separate above countries? Some differences. There's a lot of differences, if we're being honest. It's just how cheap everything is. Oh my gosh, it's so cheap. And I'm gonna say two differences. Also, to the food being so much more different. Like, I would go to a store and buy an onion, and it would be like very small, but like back in America, it's like a huge, gigantic onion. Like, I think Somalia has more organic fruits and vegetables, so that's one. And also too, just everything being way more cheap and affordable, and it's way less stressful. On the pockets, at least from my experience. I know everybody has different financial experiences and stuff like that, but like for me, like on the pockets, as far as like just getting basic things that I would, if I had to compare it to America, it's just way different. It's way different. So that was a nice breath of fresh air. Also too, everybody be dressing so nice. Like, Somalia is like, the colors, everyone wears beautiful hijabs and beautiful abayas and batis. It's beautiful. And like the color schemes and the fabrics that they have actually are really nice fabrics, and we don't get that in America, at least not at the cost that they have it at. So someone asked, how do I lean on faith while everything is so scary, and overcoming fear, all of that jazz. So honestly, prayer and praying istighfar and leaning on family and just reminding myself of my purpose, reminding myself of my why, ensured that I stayed level-headed. There was moments that I lost my cool. Like, I'm not gonna front. Like, there was moments that I got emotional, moments that I was scared or frantic or anxiety filled. For sure, that definitely was. But I know that we plan, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners. And so I just keep reminding myself of the bigger picture, and inshallah, I will be guided smoothly and gracefully. Well, that is all for today's video, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you've gotten this far, I'm eternally grateful. There will be more. I think my last video, I said that I was going to do every week, and I slipped up and then did the next 2 weeks. So I'm sorry about that, but I'm very grateful for everyone that has been sticking it through. Alhamdulillah, I'm very grateful. But yeah, there will be more for sure, but you can ensure that I will put intention into all my videos, and I want to ensure that it would be creative, and I would just put a lot of thought into every single one of them. But there will be next ones, and I hope to see you at the next one. Yeah, bye. Thank you so much.